Baby girl, you are so pretty, 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 pretty. Baby girl, you are so pretty, 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 pretty. Females made you just to trick me, trick me, trick me, trick me. 'Cause baby girl, you are so easy, baby. The only reason that I can do tonight is 'cause I know you were invited. The only reason that this dress is skin tight is 'cause I thought that you would like it. I'm only come for this.
On this episode of Jessica Javens Talk, I am excited to have this guest in today because I came across him with something that is a recent passion of mine. It's been a little longer for him, and that's why I brought him in, because he's so good at it. And this is about something that I've been starting to use that started to change my life at another level. And I know there's so many people that want to know more about it. And that's why we're here today. We're going to be talking about peptides. And we have today the biohacking dude, Tony, in the house. So I'd like to welcome Tony. Thank you so much for being in our show today. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we both enjoy some of the same high, good quality peptides. And there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of concern. Like, I've been talking to just my girlfriends about it, and they're like, what? This does this? But how? And then don't worry, I'll mix it for you. You know, all of that conversation. So Tony, let's start talking a little bit about you, because you share a little bit about that also on your social media platform. And I think that's so enriching. Like, every time you tell a little bit of your story, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. So tell us a little bit about how this journey started with you.
Definitely, yeah. So I've been in health and wellness and nutrition pretty much my whole life, all throughout high school and on. And so little by little, I've just expanded on it. And then I got out into my career, and I've always focused on medicine is what I've done. I've always been in some type of medical sales, mainly in rare disease, oncology, targeted type therapies. And so that kind of has led similar to peptides being targeted therapies. But I played baseball my whole life, and I had rotator cuff issues. And that is actually what sent me down the rabbit hole of peptides. And so one of my buddies actually told me, he's like, why don't you look into BPC 157? And I remember about 10 years ago, I just was like, wait, what did you just say? What are we talking about? And so I had gone and looked into it and researched it for probably about 6 months. And then I dove down and was like, I'm diving in the pool. Let's see what it does. And within, I'd say 8 weeks, my shoulder started feeling a lot better. And then from there, I mean, I did it for a full 16 weeks. And never needed surgery, never needed anything. And it just really reversed all the damage that had been done. And after that, I was like, okay, I'm hooked. I want to learn all about these things. What else is there? And so my ongoing joke is everyone's like, what peptides have you done? And I'm like, well, let's reverse that. It's like, what peptides have I not done? Like, that's more easier probably to talk about, because they're just so much fun to try out and see what they do and how they work. And yeah, so I'm addicted. I love them.
I know. It's fascinating when you start talking about them. So let's break it down just for the people who are not sure. What is peptides?
Yep, definitely. So peptides are just tiny chains of amino acids. And so when you think about amino acids, a lot of people think of proteins. And so those are larger chains of amino acids. So these are just smaller, and they're innate in your body. They're natural. And so they're little signaling molecules. So think of it like your body's just sending text messages throughout itself and just telling, hey, I'm not as hungry, or repair, or, hey, sleep. So that's just constantly what's going on in your body. These little peptides are sending signals naturally to your brain, telling it what to do, your main command center. So we've figured, out what they are. There's, I think, thousands of them that have been discovered now. And so they, just continue to bring out more and more and research more and more. And it's great information. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Now, the reason why people start using these peptides, is it just because they're maybe athletes, like you were so much into sports, so injury it's almost like impossible not to get? Is it just for athletes? Why would anybody else other than somebody like that would want to consider taking peptides?
Definitely. So, yeah, I actually love asking this question, because I talk to physicians all the time, just in my normal day to day. But some of them are like, oh, peptides are just a fad or this or that. Well, I would say, I'm like, what do you think? Insulin's just a fad? Because insulin is a peptide. I think everybody knows what insulin is. It was discovered over 100 years ago for diabetics. And so that's a peptide. Human growth hormone's a peptide. So we have all these peptides that people know about. And, so they aren't. I mean, the GLP-1s also are a peptide. People don't always associate that. But that's, I think, what's kind of opened up the doors for everybody to have some interest, as everyone knows pretty much what Ozempic and Mounjaro are now. Just from how popular they are. So they are for pretty much everybody and anybody that wants to signal within their body. And as we age, our signals start deteriorating. So I like to compare often to like our hormones. As we age, our hormones go down. And so we replace our hormones to stay as natural, as we are and as young as we are. And we want to feel just as good as we were back in our, teenage years. So same thing with peptides. As we age, our bodies don't work as well and they're not signaling as well. And so we can supplement those also to have more energy or lose weight if we're, gaining weight, or, repair our bodies as we injure ourselves, and all the above, neuro regeneration. There's all kinds of applications for it. So not just for athletes.
Thank you. That's awesome. And you're right. I think with this thing about Ozempic and all of these different GLPs, it kind of like made it more popular, the peptide whole thing. I think before that, it was a little more like you said yourself, like, what is this? So it might have come from people, maybe more athletic. They were probably more aware of it. But now it's become so popular and worldwide. And anyways, I've loved it. I think the first peptide I took, Tony, was probably prescribed by a doctor. But after getting into that world, I've done a little bit about what you said about experimenting, but that sounds a little bit scary. Like, what are the side effects? Like if a person decides, you know what, I want something to help me lose a little bit of the weight, so let me take a peptide, either the GLP-1 or GLP-2 or whatever. What are the side effects? If I take this, will I be addicted to it? So what is your take into that?
Yeah, so this comes up all the time. I mean, they're naturally in your body, so the safety profile is very usually well tolerated. Some of them, more so than others. You can have side effects. I know, nausea and things like that can come along with GLP-1s at higher doses. That's expected. You can have some of the growth hormone agonists. You can have reactions to those. You can have some flushing, things like that, where you just feel lightheaded and heated up. But one of the things I always like to tell people is just start low and go slow. I mean, everybody is unique, and that's, I think, what's amazing with peptides and hormone replacement and everything else is we're all unique. So what works for me may not work for you. You may need a higher dose. You may need a lower dose. Something that comes up all the time, male, female, doesn't matter. I mean, I know some females that do higher doses than males on certain things, and it's just how our bodies are working and how efficient we're utilizing things. So they're very well tolerated. They are safe, but I always just say, go start low, go slow, see how things are. And you brought up a great point too, though, is there are a lot of physicians that are starting to implement peptides as well. When you look at some more functional medicine and wellness, there's a lot of different places you can get them. You can get them from 503A, 503A, or 503B compounding pharmacies. There's some research companies now. I feel like everyone's popped up online. I do always say, be careful on what you're doing there. We don't know, make sure you know where the source is. Make sure that you're looking at certificates of analysis, make sure that they're testing for heavy metals and toxins if you're going to go that route. I know there's people that go out to the gray market and they buy in bulk, and they, I don't even know, they talk on WhatsApp and buy in Bitcoin and stuff. It's not really my thing, but I always just say, I'm like, go to the most reputable source you can. If you have a physician that can do it, I mean, that's always what I recommend, first and foremost, because they're going to be the most knowledgeable and able to help you out. And also you can call them if you have questions. When you start dabbling more in research and everything, you've got to do a lot of your own research as well. So if you're willing to do that, it's awesome. That's what I had to do 10 years ago. We didn't have all this knowledge and a lot of doctors prescribing, but I was just talking to them, like, it's what you feel comfortable with, but just be safe about it. It's not, we're not looking for the cheapest thing out there. This isn't a pair of shoes or, a watch or something that you're wearing. It's something you're putting in your body that, can affect you tremendously. So I always just say, make sure you're doing the safest and most pure products that you can find.
Yes. Thank you for saying that. That is so, so important. So because you mentioned some of those, it came to my mind. What are some other, maybe basic things that is important for them to do? What is the do's and the don'ts? What would you say?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think don't ever feel that you need to do it. I have a lot of people talk to me and I always tell them like, hey, do your own research. If it sounds great, but do your own research, get comfortable. I don't, people are always like, oh my gosh, I feel like I have to do this. I'm like, you don't have to do anything. I mean, I'm just telling you what my experiences are. I'm telling you what I've researched, what I've learned, but go do your own, research and get comfortable with yourself. I actually was deathly afraid of needles. Believe it or not, I used to hate to get my blood drawn. I used to hate to do all this stuff. Now I joke. I'm a pincushion. I'm doing like 5 injections a day. But like once you do it, I think like the needle scares, it goes away because you realize like once you do it, you're just like, oh my gosh. Like I actually had one of my neighbors, I went over to help her out with her. She just got a GLP-2 from a telehealth company. And she just was so worried about it. And I'm like, literally, I was like, look the other way, watch, you're not even going to notice this. And so I did it. And she was like, let me know when you're done. And I was like, it's done. We've done it. And so it just, you got to get over that little fear. So I think that's something that happens. And then also, I mean, if you do have a reaction, I mean, don't just keep going forward. I've heard of some stories. I've never dealt with it myself, but I've heard of stories where people just continue to move on and, this little welt turns into a bigger welt and then, bigger things happen. So if something feels off, I mean, just stop. I mean, it's not worth, putting your health at risk or putting your life at risk or anything else. So those are some of the pointers, I guess I would say, don't just do what feels right to you.
Right. Thank you for that. You said about injections, and thank you for bringing that out because a lot of people have that as well. I did. Like how? Like up until now, I have family members looking at me injecting myself and they're like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
But it is something that if you just pass that first, couple of times, you're fine. It's just the stigma, I guess, and the fear from when we're little having to take injections and stuff like that and looking at the needle, but it's really not a big deal at all. Why injections? Because before all of this with injections, there's also peptides that you can buy and you can put in your shake. You can take peptides orally. Why injections?
Yeah. So injections are going to be the most bioavailable. So that's what you're looking for. They're going straight into your bloodstream. There are other mechanisms that people are looking at. I've seen, some patches that people have talked about. I don't know if there's clinical studies or anything that show actually what the bioavailability is. There's sublingual strips that I've, heard and read that they're 60 to 70% of the bioavailability. Some peptides can be taken orally though, like BPC 157 and KPV are good for your stomach health, and your gut health. So those can be taken in capsules and they get to where they need to go. But a lot of times when you're taking things orally, they get eaten up by your stomach acid or they're just not absorbed properly. So that's just why injections have always been the best. But at the end of the day, I mean, who knows? Somebody may be able to come up with some ideas on, how to buffer it from stomach acid or other injection, other methods of delivery. There are some nasal sprays that people can do with some of the smaller molecules that may just go straight to your brain, like C-Max or C-Lank, that are better for focus or, memory, word recognition, like any of your neurocognition, anything like that. So yeah, there's a lot of different delivery methods, but right now injections just been shown to be the best and most bioavailable. So that's why injections, unfortunately, are the way for now.
Yeah. That's awesome. I was going to say, I know we are in a journey of rediscovering probably other peptides will be found out that we produce in our bodies. Now, like you said, we have thousands of them. It's just crazy. So many different messengers. Based on where we are right now, right, what the pharmaceutical companies and science have discovered, which would you say are the most popular peptides right now in the community of people who know about peptides, right? Which
Yeah.
would be maybe the top three? Of course, you mentioned one, but I know there's a couple of other ones. And why would you say that they're the most popular among the people who are in that community?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say top three would be is tough, but yeah, I feel like the GLP-1s are constantly being looked at. They're being researched. They're showing that there's a lot more to them than just weight loss. I mean, they're lowering blood pressure. They're lowering liver enzymes. They're lowering all these different markers. Cardiac markers. They're showing that there's such a full body health benefit, whether it's your brain, your heart, your kidneys, your liver. I mean, they're doing great things. So I think GLP-1s are we're going to look back on them and be like, holy cow, these are, some of the greatest quote unquote drugs, that have been introduced into the marketplace. The repair ones come up a lot as well. BPC 157, like we talked about, and it's often paired with TB 500. Now it's being paired with GHKCU and KPV, and they're all essentially repair peptides. And so those, I love those as well. And then there's a lot of the growth hormone agonists as well, to help put on lean muscle and keep lean muscle, which I've been reading studies on the next generation, like fourth generation, fifth generation, sixth generation GLP-1s, where they're going to look at blending those a little bit more. So there's not so much of the muscle loss that you see on the GLP-1s. They're going to keep their muscle and just lose fat. So I think those are all, probably the most exciting that get talked about the most. But yeah, there's so many more. I could go on forever and ever. But yeah, if I had to pick three, I would say those three categories: the GLP-1 weight loss, the repair, and the growth hormone agonists.
And it's just the you're used to saying them. You talk about them every day, basically almost every day on social media. So you're used to the terms. But for most people, it is difficult to remember. It's just letters and numbers and stuff like that. I'll tell you one that called my attention a lot is when a person who was in that community said, "Oh yeah, we have a bikini peptide." I'm like, bikini? What does that mean?
Yeah.
So it made me easier to understand. Okay, so I get this now, and it's exactly what you just described. And I was like, okay, that makes me pumped up, because all of those codes, they don't speak anything to me. So, and I think it's very exciting that there is so much of that hype going on right now, and that people have access to that type of information, and more doctors are getting to know a little bit about that. My particular primary doctor, I was shocked when I came to her. She says, "Okay, are you still taking these supplements?" I said, "Yeah, but I'm also doing this and this and that." And then she says, "Oh yeah, I do those too." And then she never talked to me about it before, maybe because I didn't ask. So now I just opened this whole Pandora box about talking about peptides with her, and she's so into it. And it's not every primary doctor who actually, is totally into that. Some of them I even say, I'm not sure why, because they don't know yet. They haven't done their own study and research, or even experimenting with themselves. So, I think it's an awesome thing that you're here today, so we can share that. What are maybe some of the most common reasons why people may delay starting with this? Like your neighbor, she's freaking out just with the injection. I would say that's probably one of the things. I don't want to give myself injection all the time. What are the other things that people might hear about this and maybe say, oh no, and not actually do the research that they should be doing in order for them to have an informative decision?
Definitely. I mean, needles is probably the number one, like you said. Number two that I get all the time that I laugh is people like, "Oh, it's just steroids," and I have to laugh because I'm like, "No, they're not steroids." Like, yeah. People, I have people that do that. Those are probably the most two. The others is people still, and I'll tread lightly on this one so we don't get canceled, but people still are very much like, "Oh, they're not FDA approved." And that's a big hang up for some people. I'd say less and less people are getting hung up on that, but there's still some people that get hung up on the FDA approval thing.
True.
So those are probably the three reasons I'd say that people push back a lot.
Yeah. And it's interesting because this FDA approval, when something new comes out, that's what we're expecting it, but we don't realize there's so many things that we're already taking, like supplements and vitamins, are not FDA approved, but we've just gotten used to it, going and buying them or whatever pharmacy or online, and it's fine. It's a little bit of a mindset, but that's good that you brought that out. So if a person is watching this right now who has not used it before and they want to know where to start, because it's a little overwhelming, to tell you the truth. Like when I started to find out, I'm like, whoa, this is, it can be a lot, especially if you really are taking it seriously. Where can they start?
Well, I mean, I think social media can be a great starting point. I mean, follow me. I put out some content all the time. Pretty much every day I put out some type of content or stack or something, and try and make it as simple as possible so that it appeals to everybody. Kind of like you had said, Jessica, is hey, here's a swimsuit stack. You gotta catch the attention of people. So actually I did the same thing. I said, hey, here's the top 3 peptides you need for swimsuit season. And I did a reel on that back in May, I think. But follow, do some research on social media, find some people that you enjoy. You can also get caught in some bad situations because not everybody knows what they're talking about. But you can find a little bit there, and then just do some of your own research. I mean, you can go out, and I think like ChatGPT, I love it and hate it sometimes, but I think you can get a basic background knowledge on it. A lot of times, like it'll give you high level if you use it right, and at least you can start speaking to it. And honestly, like you said, bringing it up with your doctors, personal story for me, my wife actually had complications having our daughter. And so she ended up having what's called HELP syndrome, which is like really, really bad preeclampsia. And so my wife, we actually were in the hospital for 2 weeks with her because her liver and her kidneys had shut down and all this craziness. But it caused her to have high blood pressure, and it stayed after my daughter was born. And a year in, well, we started looking, I started doing research, and, we had talked about the other benefits of these weight loss, GLP-1s. And so I got her looking into GLP-3, which is, still being researched in the FDA by, one of the big pharma companies. And lo and behold, all of a sudden it was like every morning she would take her blood pressure meds, and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm getting lightheaded. Like, I don't know what's going on. And it dawned on me, I'm like, let's go get your blood pressure cuff and let's check it out. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, her blood pressure's dropping too low because she's doubling up with the GLP-1 benefit as well as the blood pressure meds she was on. Oh. And so we had ended up talking to her cardiologist, her OB. And so she's off of all of her blood pressure meds now. And whatever was the issue, the GLP-1 went in and basically fixed it. So it's amazing to see just how it can rewire. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Just how it rewires things. So I love it. So, I mean, I think people are doing more and more research. Her OB dove down the rabbit hole, started looking into it. Her cardiologist was very interested. So just little stories like that, and people sharing, I know that there's a lot of different people that go and share their stories to their doctors. So I think, like finding doctors that are open-minded and open to it and aren't just saying, hey, it's a fad or whatever. And like I said, my favorite comment back is like, if it is, then what do you think about insulin? Because that's a peptide too. So
right.
That normally will make them stop for a second, go, okay, touche.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Thank you for saying that. And I love the tip that you gave earlier that says, what was it? Slow. It was 2 words.
Yeah. Start low and go slow.
Start low and go slow. I think that's one of the best tips.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
If you have to leave just one last thing for people to know about, maybe the origin of peptides, where should they look, what is important? And you mentioned some of them, but I want you to maybe wrap up the show with sharing with us one last thing that people can really take away maybe this week and motivate them to look into this a little bit more.
Oh. Sorry, you cut out like the last 10, 15 seconds.
No problem. So what is one last takeaway that you would like to leave our listeners with today? One thing that they can get out of this show and motivate them to take that one step in direction of learning more about the benefits so they can start making also better health decisions that are available to them right now. So what would be one takeaway?
Yeah, definitely. I think, that I love that everybody's into healthcare now, and I love that we're seeing more people into their own health. So I always say that there's the building blocks essentially. Like peptides are an amazing piece, but you've got, the primary, the free, like I call them the freebies. You've got your sleep, you've got your exercise, and you've got your nutrition. I mean, so those are your freebies. Make sure you guys are eating healthy, get rid of it, get rid of the processed foods, get your 7, 8 hours of sleep, work on exercise, get into the gym, do some resistance training 3, 4 days a week. And then, especially as we age, I mean, people are getting lower and lower hormones earlier and earlier on. I actually met a guy at the airport, and he was 26, I think, and he had like basically no testosterone levels. So if you start feeling sluggish, you start feeling off, listen to your body, trust yourself, go find a reputable hormone doctor, get your hormones checked. And then after you get those all balanced out, everything's all good. Then I always tell everyone like peptides are the next little piece of that, in the little mix. So I think, if we all start doing that, it's like, I mean, I don't see why we can't start living 100, 120 years, 140 years old. I think that we're able to really increase our health span from this point on. So that's what I'd want to leave is just, keep up healthy, just whole healthy lifestyle, whole healthy attitude. And yeah, peptides are a nice little piece of it.
I love what you said. Thank you for making sure we top it out with the freebies. I love that. Love it. It is essential because no peptides can fix that. Those are human basic needs, and our body thrives and needs them so much. Thank you for sharing that. I did not know about levels being at a younger age. That's incredible. I'll tell you this. My son, I took him to test his level of growth hormone when he was about 14, and they said he was not producing it. And I'm glad that I took him to be tested. So he did hormone replacement for 2 years, and that took him to. He was under his growth was like way behind his age. Way behind. And now he's my height. He's 6'1", and he's all happy. And I say, you see that those daily injections for 2 years paid off.
Yeah.
So it's important.
That's awesome. That's a great story.
Yeah, it's important for you to do that blood work because it's going to tell you also some of those, So I do it every year at least, the hormone full panel to see where I'm at, to make sure that I'm potentializing. And the feeling that you have when you're on top of the game, it is, I can't even describe it. It's so worth it. There's nothing better than feeling awesome about your body, your mind, your gut, your health. So I want to thank you, Tony, for being here today. How can the audience that is watching us today reach out to you, learn with you, and see what peptides you recommend and why, and get down the grind with you?
Definitely, yeah. I'm at Biohacking Dude is all one word on Instagram and Facebook, and then unfortunately TikTok, it changes all the time because they are the just censor Nazis. So you just get picked off. They don't like us. Yeah, they don't like us talking peptides on TikTok, but Instagram and Facebook have been amazing. So just at Biohacking Dude, and that's where you guys can find me at.
Thank you so much, Tony, for being on the show today. You are awesome. I love every material you put out there. It's almost like you go into a frenzy when I start watching it because each one of them is better than the other. And you're so good in teaching and sharing that with people. And you make it easy to understand. You don't make it complicated. So you're doing an awesome job. I want to thank you for accepting being on the show and being part of this community. So thank you so much. Thanks
for having me. Yeah.
Thank you. So don't forget, guys, click the like button. Make sure that you're following and go to the Biohacking Dude. Make sure that you follow him as well and share this with everybody because people need to know and have the knowledge. Knowledge is power, and that's what is empowering people to love their life, is once they make that one step in direction to being their better version. So make sure you're doing your part in sharing this episode as well. This show is produced by the I Am Beast Network and Andre the Beast Creighton. And also our sponsors today is Purium, which is the ultimate life transformation superfoods, and Forever Living, which is the pure aloe vera juice that transformed my wellness. And this is Jessica Javens, and this is Jessica Javens Talk.